at 5:30. Roll call. McNeil?
Here.
Booth?
Here.
Anderson?
Here.
Leeper?
Here.
Could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you all probably noticed, I'm not Brian. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Anderson? Second by
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots? Yes.
We'll move on to communications and those unscheduled, if anyone would like to step up. Oh, you want to remain seated, Mary?
No, because I have a handout.
Oh, okay.
Give me just a minute.
Okay.
Two for you. If you would just pass those down.
Sure.
And there's some extras. And I'm thinking you can go home and read it later.
Okay.
It's just something that was in the Gazette on Friday. It tells us how things are done in other places, and I think it's important that we all know that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move on to the consent agreement, and there are three items on there that we can either approve with one motion, or if anyone would like to pull anything out. The approval of the city council minutes from October 17th, the approval of the library minutes and director's report, and the approval of the liquor license renewal for Casey's.
I make a motion to approve all.
Boots? And
Spear?
yes.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Does not look like there are any items for discussion on the public hearing, ordinance approvals, resolutions for approval, mayoral proclamation, or old business. We'll move on to approval of the claims list. Is there anything on the claims list that anyone would like to have discussed? Is there a motion to approve the claims list?
So moved.
Anderson? McNeil, second.
Leeper?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes. We'll move to agenda item L2. And that is the substation batteries. Do you want to address this, Rick?
Okay, according to our, even if you don't consider the maintenance deal that we replace the substation batteries every 10 years, the current substation batteries are starting to fail. The pictures are kind of hard to see, but if you look at like the bottom picture, there's cracks in the cases, and that's letting hydrogen sulfide gas escape from the batteries, or sulfuric acid gas escape from the batteries, and it's causing corrosion on the terminals and that stuff. And then the other picture, you can see how one of the plates is really. I tried to send all this stuff out later in the day today, so that you have color pictures and look at it. But if you look at one of them, the plates are getting a lot of sulfating on them. And I noticed the other day that the battery charger is trying to charge more now than it has in the past. So that's a good sign that they're gonna fail. And if they fail, and we happen to have an extended outage for any reason, we won't be able to get everything back online. So, and then after talking with Owen from Shermco, we talked about the battery charger that we currently have. It's probably a mid-80s vintage, somewhere in there, and it's unfiltered. And he was concerned about the AC ripple wave, which just goes into a whole bunch of engineering stuff, which I'm not even going to travel there, but they're concerned that it can cause some problems for our DC breakers and some of the contacts and the relays and stuff in the SEL breakers. So the recommendation I would make is to buy the storage battery systems, because that includes the new charger, which will be filtered and meets all of our needs. This was an unbudgeted item, but I talked with Tim and we figured out where we can transfer money from out of one fund to another.
One line item.
Yep. So,
So I'm clear, Floyd, when you say that, are you talking the $17,913?
no, I'm talking $12,491.60 from SBS.
Okay.
Are you looking at the Altorfer quote?
I must be.
The Altorfer quote, when I broke it down, was only $15,385, and that does not include the charger.
Okay.
The Altorfer quote was for some other work that we wanted to have done, tubing, the separator cart, fuel filler, oil analysis, and stuff like that, when they were here doing some service work. But he added all this together, but then I separated it out.
Okay.
So,
And also, have you presented to us yet what the cost would be for the 10-year replacement plan?
for what?
The 10-year plan recommended replacement at 10 years of age is what? Did you say there was a plan to do that?
Yeah, remember earlier this year, I brought, not a 10-year plan. Our plan states at 10 years we replace the
Replace.
batteries.
The overall
Okay.
maintenance.
Yes,
All right.
the overall maintenance plan.
Thank you. So if there's no other question, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
And-
Second.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Lieber?
Yes.
Okay, agenda item L3 is Tipton High School Middle School City Ambassador, and that would be Linda.
Okay, well, I met with Dr. Johnson and with Mrs. O'Donnell. Chris Hobbin was ill, but I would like to coordinate, and the school is very excited about this, to see if the city is interested in having a high school and a middle school ambassador. That also brings youth into the community and the operations of a city. We decided it would be a 50, it's quite a spread, a 50 to a 500 word essay, because middle school students probably can't write 500 words yet. Why Tipton is their town, and how they can see growth, and what we can do to help youth understand the operations of a city and why it's a great place to live here, and maybe have a family here. Go to college, but come back. I would like, if one or two council members, if you approve this, I would like you to be on a committee with myself, and then there'll be one more individual where we will read the essays. The school would like this to go out soon, so they have opportunity January to the end of the school year, and I would also like to do this annually. And again, one thing that our mayor had suggested was taking both of these individuals to Des Moines, because you know what, we do make a difference. We have made a difference when we travel to Des Moines and we have a problem that we want resolved, and we do get action. And I think the kids need to see the operations of that part of government as well. So I am requesting that you would also invite that we have this essay for high school and middle school students, pick one of each, and they will represent our city for the rest of the school year. And then we just do this on an annual basis. And then if anyone would love to volunteer to work with me with this, that would be greatly appreciated as well.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve and volunteer for anyone.
Oh, great.
Bob? With a motion, a second.
I'll second.
Anderson, a second.
Booth,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Great.
You need two?
Sure, I'd love to. Well, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll email both of you.
And I appreciate your enthusiasm about it.
No, I think it's important to get our youth involved in the
Yeah,
city.
it is.
Mhm. Thank you.
Great idea. Yeah, might as well stay. Agenda item L4 is downtown walk around by IEDA.
Yes. Tim and I had gone to a meeting recently, and one of the subjects that they had talked about is their staff doing a walk around downtown. And the first hour, there would be several of us that would walk with them and showcase the community. The second hour, they go on their own. And they go back and often have lunch or dinner, whichever, and report back to us on some things that perhaps we need to be working on. They visit businesses. I'm sure they visit people out on the street. I thought it was great when they said sometimes every day we walk by a big tall weed and we get so used to seeing it. So if there are problems, I think I would like to know right away, and so we can cut the weed down and just build our community up and continue growing in a positive way. There is a cost, and it's $300. I do have a line budget of my CD projects that the $300 could come out of. If you're interested in doing this, another thing that they would be willing to do that evening, if you would like, is do a presentation on their Main Street program, which could be very beneficial to the city as well. And there is no cost for that. The $300 then, they have a conference every year, so we would get 2 free tickets, so to speak, to go to the conference then, which I would like to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Any questions? If not, is there a motion to move forward and approve?
I'll make that motion.
Bruce first,
Second.
McNeil in a second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes,
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Booth.
yes, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Agenda item L5, consideration for striker cot maintenance plan.
Evening.
Good evening.
I have a proposal for the council that is in front of you. Since I've taken on this position, we have identified some opportunities for us to change the way that we maintain our equipment. One of the things that I've noticed is that our striker power cots have not had maintenance conducted on them for the past 10 years. And as such, they are in need for some tender loving care to be applied to them. I had the Striker rep come out and take a look at them. Striker's the brand of the cot that we utilize. He'd been out multiple times this year already due to some issues with the cots, and I had asked him, why aren't these under a warranty? Why are we paying $51 every time you come out here and say hello? And we held a discussion on, it sounded like it wasn't an option in the past, and I spoke to him about this, and we both agreed that we should consider approaching this option. And there are three options in front of you. Option one is a annual checkup. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think it's about $400 a year. And that would include the rep just coming out and saying hello and checking the cot. It would not include any type of maintenance that would actually be on it, and we would be responsible for the parts. Option two is about $2,000. Option two would be a single year bumper-to-bumper warranty on those cots. If anything were to fail, they would fix it. However, there are a couple issues with it already, so I'm going to go to bumper option number three. We have bearings going out on both of the cots. The cost of those bearings is $700 per unit. Stryker had insisted originally that if we were to put a bumper-to-bumper warranty on them, they would have to be in perfect working condition prior to doing so. I proposed if we signed a 2-year commitment, if they would waive that $700 fee and just put it in. And ironically, the Stryker technician said sure. So for just a little bit under $4,000, I propose option number three, which would be a 2-year commitment for maintenance on both cots. We would immediately have service done to them and have the bearings replaced. The unique thing about it is, although it's a 2-year commitment, we would only pay each year. It would not be one lump sum. So I think the annual cost is about a little bit under $2,000 a year, which would make it easier to put into the budget for us, especially next year. Questions from you on that?
Does this include going through the whole thing, everything in the whole cot?
Yeah. So the way I looked at it with the Stryker representative was that essentially, I'm not going to pretend to be a maintenance technician. If you come out here and you put your seal of approval on it, it's going to be good, and any failures are going to be on Stryker. And he said that's exactly how it works. We'll put our stamp of approval truly on it. They'll put a sticker, and every year they'll make annual inspections. If there is an issue, all we have to do is pick up the phone. He'll come out free of charge and fix the issue right there and then. The only exception is the batteries on the cot.
What's the lifetime of those cots?
Great question. So our cots are 10 years old. It is an old cot, but the unique thing about it is the hours on them are very low, and that's what we judge them off of. So hours are determined based off of up and down. I've got one in the back room if anybody wants to take rides on a cot. You take a ride on the ambulance, I'm really happy with you right now. Our cots are about 9 hours on them. Most cots you get rid of about 90 hours. So we're great on the hours. We're going to run into an area where they're going to quit supporting the cot, and we're going to have a difficult time finding parts. The next question you're going to ask me is how much do they cost to replace? $15,000 to replace the cot. So I think it's something that we need to budget for in the future. I think that there are a lot of things that we need to approach on the maintenance side, but this is most certainly one that I think needs to be looked at and approached sooner than later.
But those new cots, they're all hydraulic now.
Absolutely.
So there's no lifting.
Yeah, there's no lifting when you bring the cot up or move it down. The only lifting occurs moving the cot into the ambulance itself. There's
That's
a
why
lift.
they're pricey.
Yeah, because they can. Other questions I can answer for you guys?
That's your number.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we need to have a discussion about which option the council would consider pursuing.
Two-year term. That's good.
Say if we're gonna pay $1,900 annually in that first year, we're gonna have that $700 off, that's even less than the middle option, so it makes sense to go with the 2-year.
Can I consider that a motion by Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Bruce. Second by McNeil.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Luce,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item L6. And this is the award contract for a 20-year ground lease of 60 by 60 space at Matthews Memorial Airport. And I think I understand there's a little bit of language issues that maybe Tim could address
I'll
for us.
address them. Mr. Lynch is here also. We had this contract document that Mr. Lynch's attorney prepared, had it reviewed by Lynch Dallas and also by our insurance carrier. And insurance carriers are at least as powerful as attorneys. And they came back with some observations about language as it relates to the contract that was proposed to the city. It referred to the structure as a garage, which is distinctly different from a structure that is an aircraft hangar. And they're, in the insurance company world, how they look at this is also distinctly different. So they asked for changes to three clauses within the agreement. And I won't go into them in great detail here, except that they're changes in language that I gather don't affect significantly the insurability of it from the point of view of the cities being protected and the owner, Lynch Excavating, being protected from unfortunate events that could happen to an aircraft hangar. When it became apparent that the language in the contract submitted was still the old language, I contacted Mr. Lynch, who contacted his attorney, the drafter of the agreement, and Friday had a response back that they would take care of this right away and acknowledge that new language that our insurance person had requested. This afternoon, 3:30ish, I saw the transmittal from Mr. Lynch's attorney, and it was acknowledging that, and it presented a redrafted agreement that acknowledged all the language that our insurance carrier had proposed, with one question about subrogation of insurance liability, I think, and willingness to do that, but there was still that open question. In my memo that I drafted Friday at the end of the day, I'd suggested that it would not be untoward for the council consider approving the contract and the bid as proposed, contingent upon that language being finally accepted by the city, and generally the folks would be the mayor, the city manager, and its insurance carrier, since that's the relevant body with concern. That's certainly a path that I wouldn't be concerned about if the council's willing to consider it. The alternative would be to table it until the next meeting. But I think it's minor enough, and Mr. Lynch and his attorney have been extremely responsive. I don't foresee an issue. And I almost forgot that we went through this whole process, started a month ago, because we wanted to make sure that this opportunity was presented to the public, so that if there was anybody else who wanted to build a hangar and lease the ground for 20 cents a square foot for the next 20 or 30 years, that they had that opportunity. Mr. Lynch was the only person that submitted a proposal, so that was the only one submitted. I can tell you that compared to ground lease arrangements at other area airports, the 20 cents a square foot is above the average for what's paid for these things. So that's my observation. If Mr. Lynch, if you have anything to add to that.
I don't, no. Pretty well said it all.
Thank you.
I have a question. Could you refresh us on the details of the lease arrangement?
Thank you. Yes, I will. The lease is that in exchange for Lynch Excavating, Mr. Lynch building this hangar on the property to the city's standards and specifications, and him paying this 20 cents a square foot ground lease for the next 20 years, it's his to use. He has expended his resources on city property. They don't get title to deed or anything like that. It's just an agreement that they can leave their hangar there for 20 years and come back and ask for a 10-year extension. And at the end of the 20 years, or if granted the additional 10, then that hangar structure, at the discretion of the city, can be ordered to be removed or left. and at that point, it becomes the property of the city of Tipton.
If Mr. Lynch decides before 20 years is up that he no longer needs that hangar, what, does he have the right to sublease it?
Good question. I think that might be the subrogation question, Larry.
And on the insurance, who pays the insurance, or will there be additional insurance costs?
The tenant pays all insurance.
Okay.
The tenant and the tenants, if he should lease it to anybody else.
Okay.
So
Is
the
it in
aircraft and the building are insured
Sure.
at the cost of the builder.
Is it currently in the contract that he could sublease? Do you know? Is it in there?
I don't remember. It's a good question.
Yeah, might want to,
I can look.
might want to have that in there just. Or if he decides just to give it to the city prior to that, say 15, 20 years, 15, 18 years from now, he decides he no longer needs it, can he just turn it over to the city and be done, and he get out of his contract? I would assume.
I think that it's at an early exit discretion of both parties, the discretion of the tenant and the city.
There is a section here on assignments. It's on page 12, page 2.
Thank you.
He has to have a permission to sue.
The tenant may not sell, transfer, or assign this lease.
Without the prior consent of the landlord.
That's sort of a bad deal if something happened, I mean, unless you know somebody that,
Yeah, I do. It would be an issue, and I'm aware of that.
yeah, somebody that would be willing to take it over, that's, protect yourself.
That's typically the way they read.
So, now we got, so something happens to Mr. Lynch, and he's, we need an early demise. Can someone else's name go on? Can it be his heirs? Can it be passed on to his heir? I mean, just asking the question that,
I don't, if I address the council or if I address the audience, I guess I don't know.
The contract is really extensive, Larry, it pretty
Right,
much covers
yeah.
everything.
okay, if both parties are happy, I guess, I'm just concerned that we didn't cover all the bases.
I think in reading over it, they covered just pretty much everything that I can think of.
Remember, insurance agents and attorneys were working on this, it's probably covered. Are you still looking for something?
I'll skim her along, but I will not pretend to be an attorney.
Oh, you're right. Not asking that of you.
I think it's probably covered in the section on default, in which case Mr. Lynch relocates to Costa Rica or some faraway place and fails to meet his rent payment, then it could be considered as default and probably falls on his heirs and legatees, such as there might be, to either correct that default or lose the lease.
There's also some guidelines on that, if I may address the council. There's also some guidelines on there, at the end of the 20-year lease, I have X amount of days to request a 10-year lease. If I do not do that, it automatically reverts to the city.
Correct.
There should be some wordage in there that if, in fact, something happened to me, that my estate or LA real estate would continue the lease as leased. And I don't think it's under default, but I don't have it in front of me either.
Well, I would defer city attorney. Rather than me trying to interpret something,
it.
and indeed,
Right.
Lynch Dallas did review the document and took no exception to it, so that's what I relied on.
Well, if there's no other questions, I think what we need to decide is if we want to table it tonight or approve it with the verbiage of contingent upon the change in the contract that he and his attorney are working
I
on.
would make the motion that we approve it and that the language be appropriate to whatever the city requires.
Okay, first by Burns. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Anderson, second.
Lieber,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear.
Yes. Okay. That brings us down to the reports. And as a mayor's report, I really don't have too much, except I'll go vote tomorrow. It's important. Are there any council reports?
I had the opportunity to go down and visit the ambulance service and see the progress that's been happening down there, and I'm very impressed. If you haven't had the opportunity, Brad is congenial and will show you what has been done and what needs to be done, and he's very thorough, and all I can say is I think the city is very fortunate to have this young man in our head of our ambulance department. He's top notch. Go visit him. He's a great guy to listen, talk to, and answer your questions. Any questions you might have, he can answer them. He's very impressive.
Good, thank you. Any committee reports? City manager report?
Briefly, Mayor Pro Tem, I have one conference call to complete with our audit, the firm that does the city's audit, Clifton Larson Allen, and they have expressed an interest to be a part of the interview and selection process for the finance director as part of one of the interview teams in the selection process. I've got that call tomorrow afternoon, and I'm pleased because they'll bring to the overall discussion with the interview team direct first-hand knowledge of the city's financials and its processes, and I think that they'll add a great deal to the discussion. So with that finished up, I'll have finalized out the process. I'll get started on that straight away.
Right.
And I'm looking at potentially having someone start right at the start of the new year, sooner if we can make that happen. I'm also enthused about the feedback that I've gotten from Iowa Workforce Development on the caliber of candidates that could be looking at this kind of position, and their role, which I think will be extremely helpful in the selection process. So I'm encouraged by that a great deal. One other small thing, and that is that the police department and Public Works have been discussing traffic safety issues on 8th Street in terms of flow and speed and maybe some stop or yield signs, and that's something that they started discussing in the last couple of weeks. So that's ongoing, and that's all that I have.
Thank you. City department heads? Steve?
Yeah, I get it done.
Yeah.
I wanted to come up here and talk because I got a couple of positive things that I think need to be put out there. before I go to that though, East 8th and Meridian, Mulberry, I did put locates out for those today. The chief and I talked about those, and we are gonna put a couple of yield signs in on Meridian to be consistent with what's on 9th Street, and a couple of stop signs on Mulberry, which is consistent with what's on Mulberry at night. So that was our decision, right? Well, I'm sure that on her side. Thank you. Positive, we finished pouring concrete over the libraries today, later. Eldon is still over there finishing. He'd love to be here, but he's probably just pulling off the job right now. And this was a great example, I think, of the entire city crew working together. Eldon coordinated and designed the whole thing. Of course, he worked with the electric department who put the lights in. 3 nice lights in there that really are attractive and light up that area. Probably 3 times what it was before. Now we have a curb there. We have a handicap access out onto the street for going across the street. It's parallel, there's angle parking in there now. The lines are painted. I'd also got to throw this in. When we poured concrete, there was usually 4 of us, 4 or 5 of us there to pour it. And we'd bring Brian in from Water Wastewater, who's very good with concrete, and a lot younger than I am. And between Brian and Eldon and Darren Lenz, Tucker helped some there 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the 4 of us were able to lay that down usually. Eldon did all the finish work on it, and it really looks nice. We've gotten all kinds of positive feedback from lots of people. And I want to point this out too. Brian comes in, he's still doing water wastewater full time. He makes time to, when we pour like 1 o'clock today, we check in the morning, when are you available today, Brian? Because we never had that before when we had water wastewater people here. They did water wastewater. And Brian's doing that in addition to helping us for a couple hours on a floor or whatever. And he does a nice job with that. The other good positive thing, Tucker's back, and that's incredible. He's on light duty, and he's driving the leaf truck, along with locates. We didn't expect him back, or I didn't until the first of the year probably. His recovery time was shortened from 40 to 50 days to about 19 days. So,
Wow.
That's kind of amazing. Anyway, those are the positive things. Any questions on anything I've got a lot of other things in the, I did plant 37 trees, by the way, just when we weren't doing the sidewalk and stuff, so. Any questions on?
And I will say, the leaf truck was out as I came to town tonight still.
Lenny, Darren, Len has volunteered to run that truck whenever, as a new employee, he doesn't get that much vacation time. He will work extra hours for comp time, not overtime pay, because I don't have that in the budget, but he will do overtime so that he gets comp time for some time off. And all my guys do comp time. They don't cost more, but they would like time off. And that really is a win-win for everybody. He actually came in Saturday and worked 9 hours with that truck by himself, and got 4 loads of leaves by himself. And he was still trucking leaves at 5 o'clock tonight. So anyway, that's the kind of crew I have to work with. So get to work with. Questions on anything?
Thank you.
I complimented Eldon the other day on his concrete work. He does a fine job. Really does. Good job.
Lloyd, do you have anything for us?
Oh. Well, we got the CAT engine running. Runs fine. Everything's going good with that. Not the only issue we've had is with Actera with the fuel system. We've had a couple of leaks and some stuff like that. Well, I kind of expected that because they had to weld a bunch of pipe. There's some of it that looks like it might have pinholes in it or something, but they've been back, they were back today, working on it, and, the biggest things we're waiting on right now is the insulating blanket for the catalyst. We're waiting for the interconnection agreement with RPGI to be finalized. And then when that's done, metering's done, so it's all coming together pretty nicely. And it's been really nice having this nice weather, because the guys have been able to finish up a lot of stuff that normally we, because I think John and Josh have been working on in the park. They've been doing services, which normally this time of year, you're not. I mean, so it's been good for the builders, it's been good for us. So, like Steve said earlier, that down there, there's been a lot of nice compliments down there across the places. So, the only thing I had said to me was, well, the lights don't match the other ones, but, like Steve said, Steve likes those lights that I bought for that better than the other ones. So, but it looks nicer down there, and I gotta go down tonight, I gotta look and see how nice the lights look and stuff. I haven't looked at it, but,
It does.
Steve said it looks pretty nice. So, and then when we did that work, they tied the library lighting in at the same time, so that the library lighting comes on when all the other street lights come on. So, and I don't think we have any more issues over there, do we, John?
We're still waiting for that fuse so we can tie the library in.
Oh, okay, so.
I guess we're ready for it.
Other than that, everything's been going real good, so.
Thanks, Blake.
Yep.
Brad?
I'd like to thank Ross for the kind words, but I think what he was trying to say is I'm long-winded. Is that about right? Yeah.
I agree with him.
Thorough.
You got a pretty good fight going
No,
on.
not
You got a pretty good fight going on with Linda there.
I didn't say a word. Thorough. I'll take that. One of the other things I was hoping to start touching base on is what we are currently looking at for the ambulance. We are beginning to see a pretty large decline in volunteerism across the state of Iowa. It's been occurring for the past decade at least, and Tipton is no exception from that. We are having a difficult time covering calls in the evening. We're having a very difficult time during the day. When I'm here and when my assistant's here, we do a fine job, but that's just one truck. Ambulances are a two-person vehicle at minimum, and that doesn't get our other rigs staffed. I've approached many of you guys and discussed this with you for very short periods of time each. I can sit up here and talk and yada, 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 but what I'd really like to do actually is hold an open house here in the 28th, which is a Monday evening, and invite the public, council members, and anybody else who wants to have Floyd's cookies that he's going to make for us.
You don't want me to make cookies.
Well, if you survive it, then you must be a great person.
They'll be so hard you can build a house on them.
So if you want cookies from Floyd or from my custom-made cookies from Walmart, I invite everybody down to the ambulance garage on the 28th. Take a peek around. I'd like to answer any questions the public has. I really look forward to the opportunity of remaining transparent with our operations and showing where we do a really good job and some places where we could definitely increase our opportunities to grow and build a stronger service. So, there you go.
While I was running, did you say a time?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was so busy with getting out of here that I am looking at the hours of 6:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. that evening. Will the cookies be ready by then? Sure. Okay.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Thank you. Do you want to go so you're not last?
Oh, here she comes.
No, Linda gets to go first, Brian.
Oh,
Sorry.
Well, I just want to report that Trunk or Treat was extremely successful. We had between 600 and 700 people. It was great at the park this year, and the city was great with volunteers, and it was a beautiful day, so couldn't have asked for anything better. We're going to be cutting down our community Christmas tree Tuesday, November 15th. I coordinated with both Floyd and Steve. The tree was donated by Tom Peck, and he planted the tree in memory of his sister, Judy Reif. And so I am actually having a couple little signs made that will be placed beside the tree that mentions the tree was donated by him in memory of his sister. And then I'll encourage community members, if they would like, to bring Christmas ornaments to place on the tree in memory of their loved one. And lastly, we are going to do a trial run with the garland. And we're going to do that this Thursday. We're going to put it up on part of 5th Street. So I'm coordinating that with Floyd. I am having a little blurb put in the paper that if anyone would like to volunteer to help place the garland on the shorter poles, to get a hold of me, because I think we're going to need quite a few hands on deck. So that's all I have to report.
I heard really good things about trunk or treat.
It was great. Yep. It was fantastic.
Brian?
Everything's going well. We did have a water main break on the 12th of October. It was just a little ways down past Swan and Rose Lumber on 4th Street. Fairly minor break. We didn't lose a lot of water, and we got it repaired that day. 18th of October, the new city pickup that you guys approved did arrive from Aurora Motors. Clay did a really nice job of installing the equipment on that truck, and it is in service now and has been for the last few days. October 20th, we had the DNR out for a facility inspection. They do this biannually, and that was for the East Lagoon only, which kind of surprised me. I thought they do both, but they don't. Jeff Ullman was his name. They did give us a 1-week notice, so we took advantage of that. We did a few fence repairs down there, did a thorough cleaning of the lower building, and then kind of brushed up on records and stuff. He came out on the 20th, and he seemed very pleased. I just actually in my mailbox today got the report back. The report looks really good. He did mention that in the inflow structure he noticed some corn stalks debris in there, which was funny because just the day before I had noticed that too, and wondered about that. Well, the field just to the west of the East Lagoons had just got harvested, and he said, I think you guys better look into that. So right after he left, and Eldon was able to join me for the inspection, we went out across the field and we found out of the 4 manholes, 3 of them have unfortunately been knocked off of their foundation and opened up, kind of covered up with grass and stuff. It's ag land, and they get kind of buried and covered and then lose track of them. So we got a few repairs to do there, and he noted that in his report. We'll have to follow up on that. Fire chief and I have been talking about the water tower. Y'all have probably noticed a little bit of mildew kind of on the east side and south. It kind of looks bad from Main Street. And the fire chief has that on the one pumper. They have that big mechanical nozzle, and they went out and tried it on a Tuesday night, and they can hit not all the tower but part of it. Tomorrow night, weather permitting, he's going to try to work on a little bit of that mildew with the fire truck. We're going to boost a little bit of chlorine into the water that he uses. We aren't out nothing to try, so we'll see how that goes. So there'll be a lot of water flying out here tomorrow night. McClure Engineering wants to do a walkthrough of the wastewater facilities on the 17th. That's next week. That's for future planning for the facility improvements to meet the DNR requirements. They want to get a first-hand look at what they're dealing with here. So we'll show them that. And then I do have one blower at the East Lagoon for the aeration that's started to drip oil a little bit for the first time. Well, it's got me a little concerned. We'll keep an eye on that. If that gets worse, I'll probably come back to you with a recommendation that we buy a replacement. And usually I like to take the old one, get them rebuilt, and warehouse them, have them ready for a spare. So probably last I knew there were about 6,000 a piece on blowers. We have similar blowers at the east and west facilities. I think I need to double check that, make sure they're the same. So one in the warehouse hopefully would fit all applications. So about it. And if anybody'd like to check out this report, it's available, so, yep. Thank you.
Thank you, and good news
Any
on
questions?
Tucker.
Yeah, good to have him back.
Not bad.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. If there's nothing else, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Boots,
Second,
Anderson, second.
McNeil? Boots?
Yes.
Anderson?
yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Wonderful.